His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, former president, have written to us detailing his choice of running mate. And that name stands very enclosed until the 7th scheduled meeting, which will comprise of a meeting with Council of Elders, to be followed by a National Executive Committee meeting, where the party will be required to make inputs into the choice of the flag bearer, so that the running mate on whose name would be settled become an asset, a property of the party to complement the flag bearer for the 2024 election. But as we speak, no name have been settled on yet. All other publications you see are projections by individuals and also part of political strategy of people who intend to be running mates. Of course, we don't condemn those things. We don't also endorse it. But I can put it on record that His Excellency have not put out any name yet. The name is still at a consultative stage. And when the meeting happened on the 7th, we adore that name. We have a number of names, and those names will go through the process. But in the midst of those names, as a choice of the flag bearer, we go through the process of consultation.
All right, so you just heard Mustafa Bande, who is the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, interacting with my colleague Annie Ampofu on this same subject matter of who partners the former president and the flag bearer of the NDC into the 2024 elections. I mean, we are reliably informed from our sources that the former president is actually prefers to go with Professor Jane Nano Pokwajimai. Let me say that for this particular discussion, there are two more people who have joined us. Shamima Muslim is a founder of Alliance for Media in Media Africa, Alliance for Women in Media Africa. She's joined us. Shamima, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Please unmute, Shamima.
Good morning, Mo.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to guests as well.
Yes, Andy Apia Kubi says, hello, you haven't been a good friend, and so please look for him.
Yes.
He says you should please look for him.
You are just right. Don't treat me like
that. He was one of the old student leaders that we looked up to when we joined student leadership.
Oh, I see. So you guys go way back.
That's on campus.
I see.
When he was visiting here.
Oh, I see. There's some history there.
Except that she has decided to
abandon you.
Oh
no, there's some. We'll do some reconciliation anyway. Let me also say that Musa Dankwa is the chief executive officer of Global Info Analytics. As I did indicate, he's done some work. In fact, he did some work for the 2020 when she was chosen or when she was settled on for the 2020 elections, and it was a survey that he did, and that survey will give us an insight into what is likely to happen if Professor Jane indeed is endorsed by the Council of Elders and the National Executive Council. Anyway, good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you, boss. Good to see you. All right, then. So what I'm going to do is, Shamima, I know you would want to have a bite, just a brief bite on the state of the nation, especially the part about where the president talks about, look, I take ultimate responsibility. Don't blame anybody. People are free to advise, but ultimately the buck stops at my end. Would you want to have just 3 minutes bite on that, and then I can come to Musa Dankwa?
You know what? Well, Mo, when I heard that statement, then it just crystallized for me, conversations that were already happening with regards to, strategy moving forward, because it is ultimately also in the best interest of the president and his appointees that, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia wins the 2028 election. So this is the man who has enjoyed 7 years and is going to enjoy his last year as president. Who cares what you slap on him, whether you like it or not? He has had his 2 terms as a president, and he has done what he wants to do, sometimes in regards to what concerns are raised. So I think that it just crystallized for me that there are deep conversations, and those conversations are not only fueled by sentiment, but there might be some science to it with regards to maybe some consultants are telling them that, you know, to push this campaign forward, you need to make some of these statements and, you know, reaffirm Bawumia's position that he could just advise. His role as the chair of the economic management team was an advisory one, and all he could do was advise. So perhaps this is a meeting that might have happened that all of them were told that truly to protect you beyond your tenure and to ensure that this breaking the eight becomes somewhat viable, some of these statements must be made so that you can kind of like, you know, protect Bawumia from some of the ills of the administration. But this is really after you have enjoyed the administrating, so your administration. So it really crystallized for me that this is really going to be the strategy moving forward. For the gains, Dr. Bawumia would be able to appropriate some of them, but where there are ills, I'm sure from what the president has said, he would be forgiven if he tries to remove himself from them.
Wonderful, I get that. And so I get it. Now you're saying is suggesting that this appears to be a negotiated position. I get that. Let me start with you, Mr. Musa Dankwa. Now, why did you decide, first of all, to engage in this exercise in 2020? And why do you think it is important for us going forward to look at this data and to give us some insights into what the Professor Jane ticket would look like going into 2024. So give us some context why you decided to do this.
Thank you very much, Moro. I think every pollster must be relevant.
Okay.
And you must seek to answer some relevant questions, even when people think that it's not relevant.
Right.
At the time we asked the question, we didn't know we would be in this situation.
Right.
And even though that data was published in 2020 December, people perhaps didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So what we have done now is to go back to history and say, look, this was what was said when she was first nominated.
True.
Was that decision right? And today that she is being, I don't know, reaffirmed again, according to sources, is it the right
highly considered?
Highly considered.
Yeah.
Is it the best decision that John MAHAMA has made? In the context of the polls and what actually happened in the central region and indeed nationally post the 2020 elections.
Yeah.
That's why we went back in there to
I get it. And this is what you put up on your Facebook wall. You say the Prof scorecard in the central region, according to data, when Prof was nominated in 2020, the poll suggested that 27% of voters were definitely going to vote for NDC because of her selection. 29% said maybe, and then it says they may be influenced, while 44% said not at all. They will not be influenced, representing majority. I mean, she didn't seem to be that popular in 2020 based on this data.
No,
she didn't seem to have that drive or that excitement.
If you add the positives,
yes,
you can add the definite and maybe as positive.
Right.
In that case, it gives you majority.
I get that. I get that. That's a valid argument.
And then you have to also look at the regional spread of these numbers.
Okay.
It's quite important. Sometimes we believe that, oh, from that region alone, you will win. No, you must see the impact of that nomination on other regions.
Across the regions.
Across the regions. Because somebody may not win in the region, but they may bring you enough votes from other regions that will compensate for the entire region that you think you didn't get anything from there.
True.
And the data here shows quite remarkable results. And if you look at areas that she wasn't doing well, it's not surprising. She wasn't popular among in the MPP strongholds.
Which is understandable.
Understandable. But everywhere else, she was very popular. But in particular in Central region, that was the second region with the least people who said they will not be influenced at all by her nomination. If you pick Savannah, about 13% said they wouldn't be influenced at all by her nomination.
Yeah.
Followed by Central region, 16%. These were the lowest regions with the lowest people who said that they wouldn't be influenced at all. So for her, almost over, say, 70% saw that as positive.
Right.
Before the elections.
True.
And you could see the effect she had on the election. If you look at the results of the 2020 polls, what has happened over the time. When you look at it critically, you realize that the only time NDC has made gains besides 2020 was in between 2028 and 2012, where their share of vote went up by 1.5% in 2012.
Right.
When Mr. Atta, I think, became the vice president.
The vice president.
And then thereafter, NDC collapsed in Central Region by almost 8.7%. In 2020, their share of vote did not decline. It actually increased by 2.5%.
Yeah.
Which means that she didn't become a liability on the party in the region.
Okay.
From the numbers. And then when you look at the number of seats the NDC won in Central Region. They had
or regained.
In fact, they had four seats in 2016.
True. Yeah,
in 2020, it's gone to about 13.
13, yes.
Additional 9.
Yes.
Now, we are running a model to see whether the number of...
it correlates with her candidature.
You know, but
that's
at the
important.
moment, we don't have any scientific evidence, but you could see that...
Anecdotally,
the evidence is there.
Yes,
that
she played a key role.
It wasn't a liability. So on that basis, I wasn't surprised when I heard that she was going to be renominated.
Yeah.
Because, look, she was nominated for a number of reasons in 2020.
Yeah.
One was the free education issue. Was still an issue that MP was still pushing. And they wanted somebody who could speak to education because her background was education. So she was nominated. Free education has not gone away.
True.
The issue may have changed slightly. And now they look for somebody who can offer options or solutions to address the challenges that people are concerned about.
True.
At the moment, education is number 3 issue on minds of voters.
What's number 1?
Number 1 is jobs.
And economy.
Economy number 2.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
And then the second reason that she was chosen was for probably gender issue. If you're looking for any party that can produce a running mate who is a female or potential female president, it has to be NDC and MPP.
Right.
We've had 3 candidates in the past, Ekwe Ajiman Kunedu, and the PDP lady. But there were no viable candidates to win this race.
At least based on their ticket.
Based on the ticket. Now, so if you want female to be highly represented in any place in this country, it has to come from NDC and MPP.
Right.
And I think being on the NDC ticket gives her the most realistic chance of becoming the first female vice president. And gender issues are very important. And Shamima Muslim has been put about gender. And I think women sometimes, when they have somebody who can speak their language, they gravitate towards that. And the last but not the least is the middle class.
Okay.
People thought that if she's the vice president, the middle class that NDC normally struggles to attract may change.
Okay.
And those issues are still relevant. They haven't changed.
I get it. Wow. Wow. Musa, I mean, you're just simply awesome. Let me go to Sham. Sham, we have just 7 minutes. I don't know how you're going to do this, but, you know, well, we have 8 minutes, but that 8 minutes would have to share between you and the 2 guests. They say they just need 1 minute each, so you can have like 5-6 minutes. But Sham, you are one of those who's always been advocating that Ghana needs a female, the female to be at the top. You've always been a gender advocate. And so we felt that a discussion like this is something that you'd be very much interested in having. Now, let's assume, because you like to deal with hard facts and evidence, but let's even proceed on the assumption that she gets it. She's gotten the nod. Do you think it would be a good choice and why? And how do you assuage the fears of those who say, if the NDC goes with Professor Jane, crossing 2028 will be a very difficult task? How do you put these two together? So what's your stake on this?
I'm so happy. Thank you very much, Moro. I'm very happy with the foundation that Musa has just laid for us, because in the public square, the conversation is usually around sentiments on whether or not she brought in the votes, did she bring in the women's votes, and a little of the science finds its way into the public conversation around the consideration of women, and specifically Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman as, running mate. We have just heard the science, we have just heard the data that she was not, she was actually a positive addition to the ticket of former President John Dramani Mahama. As a gender activist over the years in various women's platforms, I have always said that because there are no consequences and rewards surrounding our advocacy for amplifying women's representation in governance, the leaders of the country, especially the political leaders of the country, do whatever they want. And that is why we are actually seeing a pushback against women's rights and representation. And we're also seeing a pushback in the numbers of women who are winning elections. The last district level elections was just one clear example. We had near parity women and men going into the polls, but we had very few women making it, successfully. What this tells us is that there's a problem. The problem is that there is a lack of commitment on the side of our leaders who have very wide-ranging appointive powers, that if they truly were minded to bridge the gap, they will bridge the gap. In the last State of the Nation address, President Nana Akufo-Addo mentioned that he will be pushing the affirmative action bill through. Up till date, the affirmative action has not been passed. What it also tells us, and yet that same president under his tenure during his recent reshuffles removed a lot of women MMDCEs and did not replace them with women. That same president under his leadership, his political party has seen the removal of at least 5 women ministers and deputy ministers who did not win their primaries, who were subsequently removed from his government. We have seen very low representation of women. This president had promised at least 30% of women appointments across board in his government. That has not been met. We cannot be told that we do not have the women, because now we know that we have the women, qualified women for that matter. So one is that the lack of increasing commitment on the sign of words, promises, commitment at the highest level. And in the last time when Prof's name came up, I was one of the people who came out publicly to endorse that action, because I said, as activists, unless we're being hypocritical, we must be seen to be speaking up and rewarding specific actions that take our advocacy forward. Because like Musa said, to have the MPP or the NDC have a woman running mate already increases the possibility or the chance of a woman rising up to that 67 years, rising up to the position of vice president. We will walk before we run. I'm not even thinking about presidency. I'm just saying that it is time to break that glass ceiling and make it possible for our young girls to see that they can dream to become the vice president of Ghana, because they are brilliant, they are competent, and they can also lead. So number 2 continues to be the issue of, like I say, no consequence, no reward. We women have to make up our mind what we want. Okay. We are in the majority in terms of population and numbers. Politics is about numbers, okay? So if there are women on the various tickets, parliamentary, presidential, and women are voting, and yet the women are not leading, we have to come back to ask why. I have asked this question, and one of the things that, one of the answers I got back is that because resources are still largely controlled by men, when these men go into the communities, in many communities of poverty, when a man goes to give a woman 20 Ghana cedis and say that vote for my candidate, at that point, the sentiments around seeing my fellow woman there, it is like in the bottom minimum, especially if my fellow woman cannot give me money or food or cloth, like the men who continue to control the commanding heights of our economy and continue to control capital and therefore influence the decisions of the masses. This is one of the major drawbacks against women's participation and against women themselves voting for women. It is not about the fact that, oh, you women are your own enemies, you don't like voting for yourselves. We need to go beyond that to ask the questions why. It is the level of influence. So for me, I think that if this decision goes through, I would say that former President John Dramani Mahama has made a right decision. Also politically, for the sake of continuity and consolidating the gains that the signs have told us. We know that some time back, President Evans Atta Mills, when he was candidate, did not also win in the central region. Central region and some of the coastal regions have always been swing regions. So even when the mantra Aziwofia Oye was used, at the time when the time was not right, when the season was not right, even the votes from the central region didn't come as we expected.
Okay.
So once she has started the groundwork, I think that this is the time to consolidate the gains amongst her primary constituents, the people of the central region, women across the country, even the middle class women, because when the decision was made, in some circles, Moro, please allow me, in some circles, there were concerns that is it not a tokenistic approach to try to throw the carrots to the women's constituency to get the vote. Former President Dramani Mahama, by this decision, has proven that by this decision, if it holds, would have proven to these concerns that no, there is commitment. And for me, I think this is the right thing to do, because if the former president should choose any of the other names in this very critical election cycle, we don't know the chaos that is going to emanate from. The same people who are saying that, oh, for continuity's sake, choose A or B, are the same people, if their candidate is not chosen, would now be offended and saying that the former president is trying to control who will lead the party after his exit. So I think that if this team closes the page on 2024, in 2028, the president, what he can do, former President John Dramani Mahama, should he win the elections, is to ensure that all these other names that are being mentioned are given critical, visible cabinet positions, so they will justify their inclusion towards 2028. That time, the slate will be wiped clean for everybody to now decide and put their hat in the ring. And when the people decide who their preferred candidate is, then a fair race for everybody.
Okay, so Shab, let's do this. Because the announcement has not been made officially, we'll just take it that these are your preliminary comments. Let's wait. 7th March is...
These are my observations.
Absolutely, yes.
These are not definite comments. These are my observations.
Absolutely.
That Prof. Nana Jane is the one who is being considered most highly.
Right. So after 7th March, we would have, that one will bring you into the studio. I will beg you to come to the studio so we can have something more comprehensive. Thank you. Thank you, Sham. Thank you so very much. I don't know, but you were just telling me off air, surprisingly, just 30 seconds. You're saying you don't believe in this regional thing.
No, I don't believe in the regional thing. I believe in one who will bring the votes to the ticket. The one who, when selected and elected, also will be in a position to perform.
So, for instance, your party is saying it must come from Ashanti, but you don't agree?
No, I don't agree. I think that we have to consciously balance the north-south divide.
But not necessarily Ashanti.
Somebody from the south will do.
It's fine. Central, Western, Bono,
I'm not particularly restricted to Ashanti region, but somebody from the south, Bono, Ashanti, Eastern, Central, Western, Accra, Greater Accra, will do. But the person with the potential to bring to the ticket more votes, the person with the potential to perform after election, and again, in the present circumstances we have ourselves, very hung parliament, we are likely to have something similar. Person who will be able to bring parliament to the executive.
Interesting.
Because if you're having challenges in parliament, your administration will struggle. So that who is connected to parliament, who can bring parliament also to the ticket is important. These are my parameters.
So, Professor Jane, are you scared?
Professor Jane, I'm extremely happy if he is going to be selected.
Really?
For me, as an NPP, I'll be happy.
Is it a sarcastic comment? Or
no, it's not.
You mean it?
It's not. I mean it. Okay. Prof. Jane, sometimes we need to also reward people who are performing in other sectors. In academia, we couldn't fault Professor Jane. And for that reason, I'm an academic person.
That's fine.
I always want to go back to the university. So if she's appointed, I'll be happy for her.
Okay.
And I'll be happy for the stability that she will bring to the political equation. She's a very calm, level-headed person.
Okay.
And we can deal with her conveniently.
Honorable, any brief thoughts? Just 30 seconds.
But please, let us also learn lessons from this going into our own selection. Prof, we are happy that I'm sure you have already done some
contacted. Very important. Yes.
For me.
Atab is up. Sorry, but your microphone. Is off, actually, yes. Just 30 seconds, I beg you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Of course, I just, I'm very interested in the analysis that Musa made. I think it's a very, very informative one. The selection of a running mate is the president's prerogative. So obviously, President Mahama will want to make sure that the person that he wants to go with. Yeah.
The presidential candidates.
Yeah.
Yes. We have only one president.
I guess because we're almost there. So basically, is a former president's prerogative, who he chooses, obviously in consultation with the Council of Elders and also the party in entirety. You want to work with somebody that is competent, you feel comfortable, and you can achieve results with. I haven't heard any. I've heard a lot of names being thrown around, but I think the name that has been consistent, obviously because she was chosen in 2020, is Professor Nana. We hear that the president has submitted his list, whether it's one person on the list or two, it's going to the party. There's a process for doing this. 7th March, I believe, we will all know who the president has chosen with the approval of the Council of Elders and the National Executive. So we will wait for that.
So you wish the president?
Yes. And then, of course, I may be biased coming from the Central Region, though Apia doesn't believe in regional stuff. I will be happy if it's Nano Pukwajiman. Obviously, it will strengthen us in the Central Region to be able to work hard, for the party. I also want to see a woman president one day, but it's a process, and I feel that having her in could be a beginning of a process. If it's not herself, others women will look at it, and finally, what I want to obviously say finally is that, well, I should say we should wait and see.
Okay, that's fine. Would you be surprised, just 30 seconds, would you be surprised if it's not Prof?
Yes.
Why?
If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Thank you.
All right. Just a quick one. I said we chose her in 2020.
Yes.
When she came in, though she's been a minister, but you wouldn't say that she was a political animal then.
Yeah. She's
had political animal. I mean, I'll use that, figure. So obviously, having been there for 4 years and more or less learned the terrain of politics and all that, I think it's really doesn't make sense in my mind to replace her. But it is not
has
my
never
choice.
mentioned a running mate, so that's going to be a first.
Yes,
You've never done that. Anyway, so thank you very much. I will say,
Do you think that my submission was being sarcastic?
Well, because you did say
maybe as MPP, you're happy that she's coming back so we can beat John again. That's
what makes it sarcastic. So you said you being MPP.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
And I gave a scenario that she will bring some stability.
That was after I asked. Anyway, thank you so very much. So Apia Kubi is the Member of Parliament for the Asante North constituency. Well, thank you very much. This is his first time on the show. His promise is going to be making more appearances on the show. Yes, upon invitation. No, he doesn't need an invitation. He will come. Anyway, and then also the Honorable George Rickett Kukuhagan is also Member of Parliament for Cape Coast South, and also member of the ranking member, Finance and Economic Committee of Parliament.
I want to say hello to the people of Cape Coast.
Oh, okay, that's fine. They're watching actually. I've got lots of messages from Cape. Anyway, and also Musa Dankwa, Global Info Analytics, a very good friend of the media. I don't know, but his #1 media is Metro. That I can tell you. Yes, I can tell you. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching. It's been insightful. It's been great, wonderful discussions. And also, Mr. Joe Jackson, you had to leave us to attend to some other issues. And Shamima Muslim as well. Thank you very much. My name is Aldo Moro. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.